Right now, someone with less strength than you is winning. Why? Because they seem more sure of themselves. They talk with confidence. They act like they deserve success, and the world believes them. But you pause, you think too much. You wait for the perfect time, the perfect words, the perfect feeling, and while you're waiting, someone else grabs what could have been yours. Confidence isn't just a quality, it's a weapon. If you don't use it, someone else will use theirs against you. Machiavelli understood this hundreds of years ago. People who act boldly move forward, even if they're not the best. People who hesitate stay stuck, no matter how smart they are. Because in the real world, power doesn't go to the most talented, it goes to the most certain. This video isn't just about motivation. It's not about making you feel better. It's about giving you control. You'll learn how to stop doubting, how to speak with authority, and how to move like a man who expects respect. Pay attention. From this moment on, your weakness is no longer welcome. It's going to be replaced. You weren't born weak. You were made that way. Made weak by repetition, by rewards, by rules. You were trained to obey, trained to ask for permission, trained to say, "Is this okay?" Right now, the thing inside you isn't a strong man, it's a servant. Someone trained to please others, programmed to submit. A loyal dog that flinches when judged and waits for approval. That voice in your head, the one that holds back, that overthinks, that says sorry before speaking, that voice isn't really you. That's the servant inside. And if you don't destroy it, you'll never be free. Machiavelli didn't ask softly. He gave commands. He didn't wait for people to understand him. He acted and let others catch up. He didn't ask for power. He took it because he knew that if you're asking, you don't deserve it. Your change begins with doing the opposite of what feels safe. Every time you want to shrink down, stand taller. Every time you want to explain yourself, stay silent. Every time you want to apologize, meet their eyes. Real confidence doesn't come from being ready. It comes from doing what the servant inside you would never dare. Walk faster. Take up more space. Stop nodding all the time. Stop softening your voice. Speak like your words are final, not suggestions. Confidence isn't just how you think. It's who you are. And that version of you is built by pushing back, not against others, but against the weak version of you who still wants to serve. So here's your first rule. If something makes you feel small, destroy it. Whether it's a thought, a habit, or even a person, get rid of it. If it makes you hesitate, face it. If it makes you weak, reject it. If it wants to be liked, laugh at it. People will tell you to be kind, polite, and nice. But here's what Machiavelli knew. Nice men get used, then they get thrown away, then they get replaced. Powerful men aren't nice. They are sharp, careful, in control, and always thinking ahead. That starts with killing the little voice inside you that still wants to be accepted. You don't need anyone's permission. You don't need anyone's approval. You need only one thing: the courage to become feared, not by others, but by the weak version of you. Because once you kill the servant, the ruler inside you wakes up. Powerful men don't show up loudly. They walk in with presence, not with noise, but with silence, with calm, with a stare. You don't need fame. You don't need to be liked. You only need one thing: the ability to change the energy in a room just by entering it. That's how a man acts when he owns the space. Not because someone told him he does, but because he acts like he always has. Machiavelli saw this in royal courts. The ones who ruled weren't always the kings. Sometimes it was the quiet man in the corner. He barely spoke. But when he did, everyone listened. Silence is power. You might think talking makes you strong. It doesn't. It makes you easy to read. The quiet man is the real danger, because no one knows what he's thinking. When you enter a room, don't look around for permission. Don't seek approval. Just watch. Take everything in. Let the others talk and show off, while you stay calm and calculate. Your posture speaks before your mouth does. You move slowly, not because you're uncertain, but because you're in no hurry. Predators don't sprint unless it's time to strike. Until then, they wait, calm, ready. Most people don't even realize how fast they move, how fast they talk, how often they interrupt, because they're trying to impress, because they're still beneath someone else's judgment. But when you walk in like you own the room, you don't speak to impress, you speak to decide. Every sentence carries finality. Every word sounds like a conclusion. People start to listen differently. They don't challenge you. They calibrate themselves to you. And when others speak, you wait. You let them go first. You let them reveal their hunger, their insecurity, their weakness. Because the one who talks first usually gives away what they fear. And once you know that, you can bend them at will. You don't chase energy. You create gravity. Because confidence at this level is not about being liked. It's about making others question their own position just by standing near you. So you carry yourself like you've already won, not arrogantly, but like someone who doesn't compete because he's already chosen himself. If they respect you, good. If they don't, better. Because indifference to approval is the final form of power. And if the room wasn't yours when you entered, by the time you leave, they'll remember it like it was, not because you demanded it, but because you didn't have to. Words are not just sounds, they are weapons, and most men speak as if they're asking for permission to exist. You can spot them instantly. The rising tone at the end of every sentence, the nervous laughter, the endless, I think, maybe, I'm not sure. But they speak as if they're apologizing for taking up space. That is not speech. That is self-sabotage. Machiavelli knew the truth. Power is not always in what you say, but how you say it. And when you speak like you cannot be denied, people don't analyze your words. They submit to the weight of your certainty. Because here's the game. People are not logical. They're emotional. They don't follow truth. They follow conviction. If you sound sure, they assume you are right. If you hesitate, they assume you're not worth listening to. So, what does a Machiavellian voice sound like? It's slow, calm, final. You speak as if your words are not open for debate, as if each sentence is a decree. You speak like someone who already expects to be obeyed. It doesn't matter if you're in a room full of experts. If you sound like a decision, they'll defer. That's the first rule. Sound like the end, not the beginning. And here's what most will never tell you. You don't need to speak often to be respected. In fact, the more you say, the more chances you give others to decode you, challenge you, or worse, stop fearing you. Speak less, mean more. When you do speak, eliminate softness. No filler, no explanations, no apologies. Never say, I'm just saying, I could be wrong, or I don't know if this makes sense. But those are escape hatches for the weak. Burn them. Say what you mean, and leave it there. Let others deal with the silence that follows, because silence after a strong statement is powerful. It dares people to challenge you, and most won't. Why? Because they're too afraid of what else you might say. Now understand this. The tone of your voice is your true message. The words are the surface. But your tone, your calm, grounded, deliberate tone, tells people exactly where you stand in the hierarchy. You want to rise, lower your pitch, slow your tempo, remove the nervous energy, sound like someone who has nothing to prove and everything under control. Sound like a man who's already made up his mind and expects the world to catch up. You don't win conversations by being louder. You win them by speaking in a way that makes people feel your words aren't suggestions, they're facts. This is how rulers speak, how generals speak, how kings in exile speak before they take their thrones back. And if someone challenges you, never defend, redirect. Don't argue, don't explain, don't justify. Just say, I disagree, or better, that's incorrect. And then move on. Because when you refuse to debate, you signal something terrifying, that your reality is not up for negotiation. That's how you control a room without ever raising your voice. Because confidence isn't volume, it's gravity. It's the invisible weight behind your words. The assumption that when you speak, others should listen. When you speak, the room should feel it. Not through noise, not through arrogance, but through unshakable certainty. You're not trying to be right. You're speaking like someone who can't be wrong. You're not trying to be heard. You're speaking like someone who doesn't care if you agree, because you will eventually. That's power, and from this point forward, it's how you speak or you stay silent. Confidence without control is decoration. You can walk tall, speak well, move with authority, but if someone can still trigger you with a sentence, you are not powerful, you are exposed. This is where most men fail. They master presence, they master speech, but their emotions still belong to everyone else. A whisper of disrespect, and they react. A compliment, and they soften. A silence, and they spiral. You are not free until you master the invisible war, the one inside your own mind, and that begins by rewiring your identity. Machiavelli understood this in the courts of power. He didn't fear enemies. He feared dependency, emotional or otherwise. He didn't trust affection. He trusted control, because once people know what moves you, they know where to press. And once they know where to press, you're not dangerous anymore. You're manageable, and manageable men are discarded the moment they lose usefulness. So here's the transformation. You stop being the man who reacts, and you become the man who calculates. Someone insults you. You don't explain. You observe. You extract data. What are they trying to get from you? What are they hiding behind the insult? Someone praises you. You don't melt. You analyze. Why are they complimenting you now? What do they want? Someone ignores you. You don't panic. You become even colder. Silence becomes your weapon, not your wound. This is what it means to become psychologically unreachable, not emotionless, but unshakable. You feel everything, but you act on nothing unless it serves your outcome. When someone tests you, you don't lash out. You show no visible discomfort. Why? Because your mind is not a public space. It is a fortress, and you decide who enters. That's how you stop being manipulated. Most men are so easy to control, it's laughable. Tell them they're not good enough. They'll over-explain. Tell them they're amazing. They'll chase you, pull away from them emotionally, and they'll beg to reconnect. This is not power. This is programming. And until you break the code, you will always be someone else's tool. So, how do you rewire? You kill the need to be understood. That's the root virus, the desire to explain yourself, to be seen, to be validated. It's what makes you controllable. Burn it. You don't exist to be understood. You exist to move the world around you strategically, surgically, silently. You kill the fear of rejection, because the Machiavellian mind doesn't chase acceptance. It controls access. You don't want to be invited in. You want people to wonder what happens when they're no longer allowed near you, and you kill the habit of reacting emotionally. Emotions are real, but irrelevant, unless weaponized. You're angry. Use it as fuel. You're insulted. Use it as leverage. You're doubted. Use it as silence, and let results speak later. This is how powerful men are built. They don't become robotic. They become undeniable. Because once no one can move you emotionally, they can only watch you move with precision and fear what you'll do next. Let others chase peace and understanding. You chase clarity and control, because the world doesn't care how you feel. It only responds to what you project: certainty, direction, gravity. And when your identity becomes unshakable, you become dangerous, not because you're violent, not because you're loud, but because you're unreachable. The people around you will try. They'll test you, they'll praise you, They'll ignore you, they'll tempt you, but nothing works. You stay the same, cold, calm, calculated. And in time, they stop trying to manipulate you because they realize something terrifying. You are the one person they cannot move. This is the final transformation. Not posture, not speech, not appearance, but identity. You are no longer shaped by others. You shape the room. You shape the rules. You shape the outcome. You don't need to be understood. You don't need to be accepted. You don't need anything from anyone because now you belong to no one, and that is what makes you untouchable. Rejection feels like a wound to the weak, to the powerful. It's a signal, a gift, a message from the world saying you were too available, too obvious, too desperate. Good. Now you know what needs to be destroyed. Understand this. Rejection is not personal. It's positional. People reject what they believe they can survive without. So if they said no to you, it means they believe they lost nothing. That's not an insult. That's intel. Now you know where they stand and where you stand, which means you can now position yourself to strike back later when they're weak and you're untouchable. Step 1. Never appear affected. The moment you show pain, they win. It's not even about them, it's about your legend. A Machiavellian mind doesn't panic when the door shuts. It makes the room colder. You weren't rejected. They were disqualified from accessing you. Rejection is only real when you acknowledge it. So you don't react, you evolve. Step 2. Withdraw your presence like a weapon. What happens when something you took for granted disappears? You begin to feel its weight, its value. That's exactly what you do when rejected. Vanish. No explanations, no emotional farewells, just a strategic absence. And while they feel the void, you build. Machiavelli said, men should be either treated generously or destroyed, because they take revenge for slight injuries, but not for ones too severe. So don't hurt them. Make them irrelevant. Make your silence louder than your words. Make them wonder where you went, how far you've gone, and if they ever had access to you at all. Step 3. Reframe the narrative. Rejection only has power if it looks like you were chasing something, so rewrite the story, not for them, but for yourself. You weren't rejected. You selected yourself out of a game too small for you. You allowed them to say no because you were observing their behavior. You gave them one opportunity to prove they had the discernment to recognize power. They failed, and in that failure, they told you everything you needed to know. Now you vanish and upgrade. Step 4. Turn rejection into power. This is where you start to win. Rejection gives you clarity. Most people live in confusion. They don't know who really respects them, who's just using them, or who secretly fears them. But rejection clears all that up fast, like a knife cutting through smoke. Now you clearly see who can't see your worth. Now you know where your influence hasn't reached yet. So what should you do? You work on yourself. You improve your skills. You make your value so loud and undeniable that the people who once ignored you have to explain themselves when they mention your name and when they come back around, and they will. You won't need to reject them. You've already moved past them. That's real control. Quiet, lasting, and smooth. Step 5. Use your comeback as a weapon. The goal isn't to get revenge. Revenge is driven by emotions. True power, the kind that lasts, is smart and planned. So don't waste time trying to get even. Let time do that for you. Come back only when your return makes others uncomfortable. When your success is so clear, they can't ignore it. When the same people who once turned you away are now watching you succeed in the very place they said you didn't belong, you don't need to say anything. Don't show anger. Don't be sarcastic. Don't act like you have something to prove. Maybe just give a look. Or better yet, don't even look at all. Because now, you're not trying to fit in. You've become the standard. You lead now. Here steps the truth. Rejection isn't the end. It's a test. It's a filter. It's the fire that shows you what to let go of, what to cut out, and who to leave behind. So never think you were rejected. You were pushed toward a version of yourself that doesn't beg, doesn't hesitate, and doesn't wait to be chosen. Now, go work in silence. And when you return, come back as someone too strong to be rejected. No matter how hard they try, you weren't just inspired or motivated. You changed completely from the inside. You didn't beat self-doubt with positive talk. You beat it by taking action. You didn't wait until you felt ready. You just moved. You acted, and you learned that real power doesn't belong to people who are perfect. It belongs to people who are bold and fearless. You took rejection and used it as fuel. You stopped trying to win approval. Now you let people feel what it means to lose you. You became rare, smart, and quiet. And yes, they noticed. You don't walk into rooms hoping to fit in anymore. Now you take control of the space through your presence, your body language, and your exact moves. You don't talk just to be heard. You speak like someone who can't be challenged. Most importantly, you changed your whole identity. You're no longer easy to predict. You're not easily influenced. You've become hard to reach. Emotionally, no one can mess with you now. They can't get to you. They can't distract you. They can't control you, because you now belong to no one. That makes you unforgettable. That's what builds a legend. Not noise, not popularity, but quiet strength, clear thinking, and brutal consistency. You don't have to announce your growth. People will feel it in the way you walk, in how you speak, and even when you're not around. You've become the kind of man people watch. Quietly. The man who used to chase. Now he's the one they're chasing. The one who used to ask. Now he makes the decisions. The one who used to need approval. Now he sets the example. So no, this isn't just about being confident. This is about taking full control mentally, emotionally, and psychologically. You're not here to fit in. You're here to make the moves, to shift the energy in every room, and to leave a lasting impression, even in silence. Because legends don't beg. They don't explain. They just exist. And the world adjusts to them. Final message. Like this video. If you're done chasing, subscribe. If you're ready to become the kind of man no one can control, predict, or forget. Because this isn't self-help. This is war. And now, you're the weapon.